I'm just going to, and then you can ask.
What hair on my body is fur?
All of it.
My pubes too.
Yeah, you don't have hair, you have fur. And it's not a disrespectful thing.
But how are my
black
pubes
people,
fur? They curl.
We
they
can't
afro.
speak over
they
each other.
Up.
We're not learning anything. Wait, let me tell you something. Genetically, your DNA is tied into the Homo simian, the Homo canine, and the Homo porcine. So if you want to go and do some research, because scientists have done DNA
and these
tests,
aren't humans?
Dog, what you call a pig, and what you call a monkey.
So
this is why the
dog,
Neanderthal,
pig, and monkey.
The Neanderthal.
And these are scientific fact-based things.
Yes, and I'm trying to explain if you would actually listen.
A very strict culture as well. You're welcome.
Nice to see you.
See the actual that shows.
Oh, yes, every day. So if you know, yes. Right.
Comes down to now for electronic as well as I can work 5 minutes if I want. But sure, it comes out. There's actually, yeah, very good.
In real talk, do not spend one single penny to go see this movie. In fact, it needs to be boycotted. You will never see white movies like this. They have, in the trailer alone, they are trying to implement mind control and propaganda to the black woman against black men. Look at the caption, "Make your daddy dead, real dead." They have Vivica A. Fox playing the mother of 2 daughters, which they are trying to kill the husband or the man that created those 2 daughters. That correlates to Vivica A. Fox's real life. She can't get a man. She refuses to settle down, killing the black man. And then they pander to the modern 2026 woman. Look at it. The blonde braids. They are pandering to you subconsciously to tell you to kill the black man. We don't need black men. Fuck black man. Look at the caption. "Make your daddy dead, real dead." And I will say it again. You will never see white movies like this. And then they got the title, "Is God Is, Goddesses." Oh my God, this is some mind control shit, boy. Do not spend your money.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know the truth. We're not going to make it to 2030. I'm not trying to sound negative. I'm just being real. I'm not even saying Trump's a good one. I see him doing the upside down pyramid with his hand, so he could be willing to. I've been to the underground world. Everything you see above ground is underground. We can go under the ocean. Trains go under the ocean. And we're not a ball spinning in space. We're a giant pancake covered with a firmament. You see it. They send up rockets and they explode. There must be a million cracks in there, but one day somebody's going to break through. Nobody's ever going to break through. I could go into it deep, but you don't have enough video.
Did you know that the war between black men, dog-headed people, and wild men led to the story of the Beauty and the Beast? Let me explain. In order to understand this history, you must first understand the doghead, the Moor, and the wild men. The doghead and the wild men are one and the same. Let me explain. My next source is called Wild Men Sinner Sinner. And when you read this article, it shows you that the wild men were called barbarians by the Romans, and they were uncivilized Germanic tribes like the Visigoths. They appear all the way from the Dark Ages to the Renaissance as cannibalistic, sexual deviant predators. This is my next source, The Wild Men, Medieval Myth and Symbolism. And I quote, "When he killed game, he ate it completely raw. By many accounts, the wild man also indulged in cannibalism. By the 16th century, this habit brought him in association with werewolf and other flesh eaters." And I quote, "Icons with the dog heads, particularly of Saint Christopher, existed in Eastern Orthodox traditions due to the blend of ancient folklore, potential linguistic errors, and symbolic theology. They represent a savage barbarian other who was converted to Christianity, signifying even the most monstrous can be transformed by faith. In medieval times, doghead was a slur for non-Christian barbarian or people on the edge of the known world, representing a raw, untamed humanity. Those people on the edge of the known world are the Visigoths. And yes, this is Saint Christopher. Look at his club that he's holding with the baby on his back. Now, this is dog-faced Christopher. Look at the baby on his back. The wild men and these dog-faced people were the same people. Now let's talk about a real account of a wild man. This is Petros Concavos of Spain and his wife Catherine. You might recognize them from the Disney movie Beauty and the Beast. This is what it was based off of. When they captured Petros Concavos, they said that they had captured a wild man. Pedros suffered from Amber syndrome, and this is when you grow a lot of hair around the facial region, around your arms, everywhere really. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. If you want to watch this full video, click the link in my bio.
Man and civilization started in the Americas. Civilization was much more advanced and people traveled and worked around the world like they do today. This Fulani man gives a breakdown of how so many so-called Africans actually didn't arrive until the 1800s. He explains how many of these tribes actually came from Asia and Europe, much of them coming in the late 1800s. Look, there's plenty of literature on it. Look, he exposes how much of African history has been fabricated so that the invaders can write themselves in and claim the land. He states many of the waves came from Caucasia. That's why it's called the Black Sea. You can see a black Caucasian to the right here, and your recessive mutated versions. He says the Fulani word for the word Caspian comes from the word Ka, which stems from the word Cain. Cathane or Catholic comes from Cain. That is why the Pope literally kisses the feet of these so-called Sudanese people. Of course, Rome is Edom, which was taken over by Japheth and Cain by way of Chittim. Edom was red-brown or ruddy to start, but he also bred with Ishmaelites, which gave us some of these dark Edomites. All dukes are of Edom. This man's tribe invaded Africa and is a duke. Look, see? Just like this man and his tribe. The pale versions are the front office people. The Ashanti are from Europe. There are so many conflicts because nobody really has any right to the land. It was never designed for man. There are red-black, yellow-black, and blue-black people, and they're not all the same. The Shona tribe are from Persia. Many tribes are from so-called Mesopotamia. The Middle East went through an apocalyptic reset. It wasn't always a desert. This is the Strait of Hormuz. The Fulani themselves, among many others, come from Arabia, which is another source of many Edomites. And a large number of so-called Africans are actually from India. Look, most of them arrived in the so-called Middle Ages, and many arrived around 1500. The Khan takeover of Asia pushed an abundance of people out. The Fusang or Fushang started the Shang of Asia. Their records were reset. Even the people we call Indians in the modern day are from America. The original Rome is in America. Columbus's quest for Jerusalem was in America. And apparently he knew an apocalypse or reset was coming. America was already built up, as you can see, but the reset was underway or just happened. There was a worldwide civilization that was taken over by force, Evangelion, evangelically. Islam and matrilineal Judaism are a part of that cabal. They were not separate and they were contemporaries. Look. Muslims even prayed to Jerusalem. The cabal is diverse. Look. Their mark is everywhere. Look. See? It's ubiquitous. All over the realm. Especially the Northeast, which was Greece and Rome. The mark of conquest. Conquest. Nothing has changed. A clan member built Mount Rushmore on the site of the 6 grandfathers or 6 kings, the Vikings. A pilgrimage is a journey to a holy land or sacred place. That's why there were pilgrims coming to America. There is no stratigraphic evidence that the modern day Holy Land is the Holy Land of the Bible. Look at Professor Gunnar Hyson's work. It's obvious. And I understand not trusting stratigraphy because the surface has been melted down several times. And these so-called tombs in Israel are a front, blocking the excavation of the melted city beneath. And the cosmos around us have likely changed as depicted in Joshua. But the biblical geography matches the Americas.
Y'all see that red dirt? Y'all see that red dirt? Look like my red skin, don't it? My red skin, don't it? Shalom.
Stops threatening the Straits of Hormuz, but quits exporting the Islamic Revolution throughout the region. Involved, but again, their interests are at play here, but so are European interests, the rest of the Gulf nations, and so far, every has time on his hands. He controls the narrative, he controls the strike capabilities, and he knows that the policy he set with the blockade has had short-term and long-term effects on the regime and the people of Iran. So he's been very astute in leveraging that time.
Listen, man, all y'all that's out here talking about the Masonic shit, y'all so wrong about what the fuck the Masonic order is. You see, the Gentiles, the Europeans came here. Your Albert Pike and your Aleister Crowley, and they polluted the temples of the Lord. You have no idea what the fuck the Masonic order is. We are the Masonic order, stupids.
The world government isn't run by the people you see. The Gorsei sit above every elected official and every military and every court, and nobody voted for them. Nobody removes them. They just kind of persist. And that's not fiction, that's how unelected power actually works. The celestial dragons own everything by birth and face zero accountability. The system doesn't apply to them, it protects them. And we've watched that in real time. But Oda hit a real thing at the top. Emu, sitting on the throne that's supposed to be empty, above the Gorosei, above everyone. One figure that no one in the entire world knows exists, pulling every string from a room nobody's allowed to enter. Every major power structure has that layer. The visible leaders aren't the ceiling, they're the distraction. And the Void Century, the 800 years of history that the world government made illegal to know, that's not a plot device. Governments don't erase history because it's irrelevant, they erase it because it exposes them. Oda didn't create a fantasy, he described a pattern that keeps repeating across every empire, every era, and every system that concentrates power at the top and calls it order. The empty throne was never empty, and neither is ours.
Pay attention. All 13 colonies. This is going to blow y'all away. I'm telling you, this is going to rock the world. Okay? All 13 colonies had rich black people in those colonies, rich black people, families, wealthy black families in all 13 colonies, and they all owned slaves, white slaves, not black ones, white ones. Yes, it was indentured servitude, okay? But they lived on the black man's farm and they worked for the black man. And the only difference between a slave, it don't matter, you're still a slave as long as you don't, you can be a slave either way, but you're still a slave. But the point that 13 out of 13 colonies, all 13 colonies had black people own white slaves. Sure did. And they worked for them. Imagine that. Guess, when the Civil War was over with, the black rich, like Robert Johnson and that black woman in Louisiana that had all those slaves. Yeah, she had over about, I forget how many slaves, she had about 400 or 500. I'm telling y'all, man, they've lied to us about everything, my brother. And I'm not mad at the black man for this. I know I'm blaming this on the devil and evil people.
Moors were actually against slavery, recognizing that the mass enslavement of Slovenians, Slavs, was causing the empire to decay. These noble Moors worked to uplift white people, bringing them out of caves, teaching them to read, bathe, and prepare food, eventually freeing and accepting them into society through fraternal orders. Joan of Arc was a full-blooded, melanated Moor from the original Asiatic lineage. When Netflix tries to show a glimpse of the truth by casting melanated actors, they boycott and cancel the show because it proves the empire of Moors was running the entire planet. We didn't fall because of some inherent white superiority. We fell to our own people who, once divided by greed and internal power struggles, decided to use the so-called white man as a proxy to disinherit one another. Bleaching out was accelerated because many Moors had an appetite for white slave women and concubines, taking them into harems to create
plan that this will come about. The Moors then had a plan for a new world order. A one world, new world order. That was a Moorish plan originally. The Europeans inherited that plan through the Masonic Lodge, which was the vehicle by which we civilized and taught the Europeans. And so now when we hear them saying it, we ready to throw out the baby with the bathwater, thinking it's from them. No, we originally laid out that plan for one divine world order. And they merely inherited it. And when we fell off, they still espoused it. Even though many of them are not carrying out right and exact, because you got to understand that the European Masons who run this government, who run the international scene, that they're under certain oaths and obligations. There's certain things that they can't do. There's certain things that they can't speak on. They're functioning more or less in a custodial capacity or fiduciary capacity. They will make custodians. When we were falling from power, we said, all right, you see this throne? We're going to make you custodians of this throne. You're going to become the keepers of the light, not the bearers of the light. We were the bearers of the light. We was one who was able to actually go out there and re-educate the whole human family of planet Earth. We made them keepers, which means that it's for so much they can speak on. You look at their degree structure. Water freezes at what? 32 degrees, right?
Evidence in J.A. Rogers' Sex and Race and Sabatino Mascati's World of the Phoenicians proves the original Greeks were melanated Peloponnesians and Macedonians, vassals of the Moorish Carthaginian Empire.
The Greeks we read about in textbooks were actually the Minoans, Etruscans, and Macedonians, groups that were ethnically indistinguishable from the Moors of America. So-called black Americans built Greece and Rome before being bleached out.
The original Greeks were melanated Peloponnesians and Macedonians, vassals of the Moorish Carthaginian Empire.
Systematic Renaissance iconoclasm whitewashed this Asiatic antiquity, burying the true masters in Vatican.
For the first 100 years, the story of ancient Greece was, in truth, a story of Africa. These mosaics, carved in stone and glass, show statesmen and soldiers with distinctly African features, full lips, broad...
Preserved in glass and marble, the faces of a forgotten Hellenic world gaze back at us. Warriors, scholars, athletes, and royals, people of deep bronze and onyx skin, etched in stone and gold,
Etruscan, which is Roman. All that is black. The gig is up. The Sumerians, the Mesopotamians, the Akkadians, the Phoenicians, all were nappy-head, dark-skinned people.
Pay attention.
I feel that since everyone now is aware about, okay, we were Indians, quote unquote, all this stuff, we're not going past that. We're not going past what was before Cherokee, Choctaw, all them nations. We're not going past that. We're not going to where we was in castles, in Tartaria buildings, mounds, pyramids, all types of stuff. And then it's even stuff before then. Nigga, we had floating cribs in the sky. It get deeper than that. And I feel like in order for us to reclaim our gods and goddesses status, first we need to know who we are. That's the first step. And then we just need to widen our knowledge, because once you tell one lie, you got to keep telling them. So that's why it's all these different names, all these different things, how we were destiny swapped from different people, and now them people, they're getting kicked out their reservations, the government not giving them no more money. It's a whole thing. But this was to come, because you cannot keep pretending to be something that you're not, and like whatever. But it's like these names and stuff was given to us. If you want a piece of land with everybody that looks like you would not need to know that you're Indian. You would not need to know that you're a part of this XYZ, because y'all all are the same. Y'all all are connected. So that's, once again, paper genocide, the whole ordeal.
This is what I mean.
I think when you're looking at a lot of the blacks, you're looking at Native Americans, because the slave ship history is nonsense, in my opinion. I think that they, obviously there was a slave trade, but I don't think it was very big. I think it was just as big coming out of Ireland as Africa. I think it was thousands, not millions. In my opinion, I have a right to... Hang on. I believe that the slave trade is grossly over-exaggerated, and many historians have actually went to Africa looking at the slave trade, and they have hit many dead ends, and they believe that there was no real slave trade. And if you right now are absolutely furious at me saying, how dare you, there's a slave trade, ask yourself, is all of your information only from a Rockefeller-funded school, Hollywood, or a Ashkenazi Jewish run publishing business? And if the answer is yes, then you might want to sit back and shut your cunt mouth and maybe listen to someone who has mastered his skills at deduction and pattern recognition.
Mainstream media would never cover this because it would give people too much hope. Across the country, cities are covering flock surveillance cameras with garbage bags and other items. In Dayton, Ohio, the city's cameras have been searched more than 7,000 times for immigration enforcement by outside agencies. They then covered all 72 of the flock cameras with trash bags. Mountain View, California cut his contract after an audit found that the ATF, Air Force, and a federal inspector general were accessing the city's data without authorization. Cambridge, Massachusetts canceled after discovering flock had allegedly installed 2 cameras the city never even approved. Eugene, Oregon terminated his contract after finding flock had allegedly reactivated a camera the city had shut off. Evanston, Illinois ended his contract, then flock allegedly reinstalled the cameras without permission. The city sent a cease and desist and bagged them a second time, and more than 30 cities have canceled their flock contracts in the last 18 months. Flock has easily built one of the largest surveillance systems in the country. You can use the Conscious app to see full hidden data reports on flock and companies just like them. We are publishing data on new companies every day for the mission to inform every single person so we know what companies are doing behind the scenes.
Lord, I can't make this stuff up. Y'all, listen to this clip of what Elvis said back in the day. This was back in the day.
They added 1,000 years to the calendar just to hide the fact that the original Jews were the ones running this whole empire before the cleanup. I guess the truth is just a matter of who owns the copyright on the history book. We gave them a fake history. People think the Holy Land's across the sea. Egypt is right here on the Mississippi, and Israel is right here in America. The real Jews aren't who you think. They're the Moors, the melanated Asiatics they renamed to steal this inheritance. The real Jews, the true Yehuda, never left home because Israel is right here in America. These people you call black are actually the Asiatic Moors, the original Hebrew royalty that ran this whole empire before the 18th century. And aren't you afraid of being silenced for challenging the official record? My friend Johnny Cash, he's been out there defending the indigenous community. The original Moors like the Blackfoot because he knows they're the true nobility. The folks you see over there in Israel now calling themselves Jew are just the Khazarians and Ashkenazi who adopted the culture around the year.
And the crazy part is y'all still be trying to argue with me in my comments. The proof is in the pudding. The veil has been lifted, baby. All the truth has been coming out, and y'all too blind to see it. What's going on?
There's not a state or a city in Africa called Wakanda. There are cities over here in America called Wakanda. Yes, there are state parks over here in America called Wakanda. Yes, if you look up the definition of Wakanda, Wakanda means a supernatural force, and Sioux belief, S-I-O-U-X. Sioux is a Native American tribe over here in America. So why would they use your face for that movie? You know what I'm saying?
Because you niggas is uneducated, you think the Moors did something good. No, the Moors is who set up all this human-ass governing. The Moors, they were called the sons of God before they were kicked out and went to Rome and Africa and all that and built up over there and then tried to come back here like they run shit. That's a lie, and you shouldn't want to be them.
Now keep in mind how they conquered America. There were 7 nations that came against us to destroy us as a people, to cut us off as a nation. Their entire plan was to take our land from the very beginning, and since they cannot deport us off of the land of the Americas, they needed to trick us and tell us that we are from a whole completely different continent that we are not from, and our ancestors did not know. In David Eltis's book, he made it very clear what happened to the Aboriginal Americans had everything to do with the Africans and the Europeans, the Caucasoids. They have everything to do with it.
19 Keys asked Dr. Seby's daughter.
Just so we're clear, chicken is the devil.
Why is chicken the devil?
Oh my goodness. Chicken has been the one constant devil that nobody sees. We can talk about pork, we can talk about liquor, but we always miss that chicken.
We're told that chicken's the cleanest protein on earth. It's the cleanest protein for pheomelanin. That's the melanin of Europeans and Asians. It's not a good protein for EU melanin. That's the melanin of the indigenous people of Moorish descent. Number 1, conventionally raised chickens are loaded with linoleic acids and omega-6 fat that oxidizes inside the EU melanin bodies into compounds called 4-HNE and MDA. These are aldehydes that target mitochondria specifically. And EU melanin synthesis is mitochondria dependent. When our mitochondria goes down, melanogenesis collapses, meaning a rise in cancer, eye disease, DNA damage, and mutations. Number 2, chicken is high in tryptophan, and for individuals already experiencing inflammation, chicken activates an enzyme called IDO1. It reroutes the tryptophan from feeding the EU melanin precursor axis into kynurenine pathways and its byproducts. The chicken redirects the tryptophan from feeding your pigment, your EU melanin, causing mutations. One cause of vitiligo. Number 3, chicken is dense in arachidonic acids, a fat that triggers chronic inflammation. Too much inflammation begins to mutate EU melanin into pheomelanin. Number 4, chicken is one of the highest methionine proteins. Too much methionine raises homocysteine. Homocysteine steals copper. Copper is needed to make EU melanin. High homocysteine is linked to cardiovascular disease, oxidative stress, and endothelial dysfunction. Number 5, chicken is high in sulfur-containing amino acids and high in nitrogen load, which creates a lot of ammonia during digestion. Ammonia is neurotoxic. It disrupts the alkaline microenvironment that melanocytes need to function. So yes, chicken is the devil to EU melanin. It's not designed to strengthen our DNA, our immune system, or our melanin. For a list of fruits, vegetables, and healthier meats that will strengthen EU melanin, comment EU in the comments to get access to my approved food guide list.
I made a video on IG speaking about a certain Nordic race that wasn't white. Blonde hair, blue eyed? No, they were black. It's blowing up on IG. I can't post it here. I can't post it on YouTube because they'll say it's hatred and all this because it's truth. But remember their symbol, the Germanic symbol they used to brandish, the swastika? You know that symbol predates World War II, right? It used to symbolize the black hole sun, children of the sun. If what I'm saying isn't facts, right, that the original Germanic people were black, the original Nordic people were black, why did Admiral Byrd say that they were Nazis in Antarctica? Remember, it wasn't Nazis, it was that symbol that's been erased. Why is that symbol on Yale University's library, which predates World War II? Early late 1600s, that building was made. Why, in Benjamin Franklin's writings, did he say that the Germanic people were swarmy, which means black? To put the evidence together, do a little bit of looking at and stop believing what you're told. Because if they lied about everything, right? Why is a certain people in today's society subjugated in such a way more than others? If what I'm saying is a lie. Give me a good rebuttal. A lot of y'all learned that the gas chambers weren't really gas chambers. Y'all are learning that Auschwitz wasn't what they said it was. They had a pool, a nursery, and then the Havara Agreement. Like, I don't know what else to say. If you think what I'm saying is a lie, and these are recordable things in history, then you only believe what you're told by your captors. And we are really doomed. Peace to guys.
Enlil, que se convirtió en Yahweh y el Dios de la Biblia, estaba en contra de los Anunnakis crear una nueva raza, pero luego él aceptó, pero él tenía ideas diferentes para el ser humano. Él solo quería el ser humano para trabajar y ser esclavo, y él no quería que el ser humano tuviera el conocimiento de los dioses. Enki, que fue el verdadero científico que modificó el ADN del ser humano, quería que el ser humano evolucionara y que un día llegara a ser como los dioses. Y un día Enki se encontró con Eva en el jardín del Edén y le confesó que en su sangre llevaba el ADN de los dioses. Esto enfureció a Enlil y por esta razón Adán y Eva fueron expulsados del Edén. Y eventualmente los Anunnaki se dividieron en dos grupos, en el grupo de Enki y en el grupo de Enlil. Un día Enki notó que el ser humano, más que evolucionar, estaba regresando atrás a su estado primitivo. Y con la bendición de su padre Anu, Enki decidió crear una nueva raza humana y decidieron que de ellos descenderían los humanos civilizados. Y Enki tuvo dos hijos con dos mujeres humanas diferentes, Titi y Adapa, que en la Biblia se convirtió en Enoch. Y de Titi y Adapa nació Caín y Abel. Los hijos de Enki empezaron a compartir el conocimiento de los dioses con los humanos, y todo esto enfureció a Enlil. Los seguidores de Marduk, el hijo mayor de Enki, empezaron a construir un monumento que llegaba al cielo. En la Biblia se convirtió en la Torre de Babel, y todo esto enfureció a Enlil y decidió confundir las lenguas. Enlil tenía miedo que los humanos que ellos habían creado llegaran a ser superiores a los dioses. Enlil tomó la decisión en destruir la humanidad. Primero trató con hambre y pestilencia y luego con un diluvio. Pero Enki había tenido otro hijo con otra mujer humana llamado Siosudra, que en la Biblia vino a ser conocido como Noé. Y Enki le avisó a su hijo Siosudra del diluvio y le dijo que construyera un barco para salvar a su familia.
Are you going to tell them? Okay, I will. They didn't build technology just to connect you. They built technology to compete with Source itself. Look around, cameras everywhere. not just in the streets, in your pocket, in your home, on your door, on your screens, watching, recording, remembering, always on, always present. Sounds familiar? That's not by accident, because what is source? All-seeing, all-knowing, omnipresent. Now look at what's being constructed around you. A synthetic limitation, a man-made omnipresence that mirrors the attributes of source, but externalized. Your phone watches, your TV listens, your doorbell tracks movements, your apps learn your behavior before you even act, before you search, it suggests, before you decide, it nudges, before you move, it predicts, it doesn't sleep, it doesn't forget, it's always there, constant, persistent, present. But here's the deeper layer most don't catch. It's not just about surveillance, it's about replacement. Instead of turning inward, people now look outward. Instead of inner knowing, they wait for notifications instead of presence. They exist through projection, scrolling, refreshing, checking, repeating, a digital all-seeing eye being normalized, while the real one within you is ignored. And slowly, subtly, attention shifts, focus moves, power transfers, because the more attention you give it, the more power it gains. Because attention is currency, awareness is creation. Where your awareness goes, your reality follows. So the question isn't why is it everywhere? The real question is, what happens when something artificial becomes more present in your life than your own source? Because whatever you give omnipresence to, whatever you constantly return to, whatever you check, trust, and rely on, that becomes your center, that becomes your authority, that becomes your guide, and eventually that becomes your God. Peace.
Does you guys know who Yaqub is?
Yaqub, hey, bro, I got it written down. I was going to talk to you about it.
So Yaqub created white folks, all right? No, nothing against white people.
Hey, don't he look like O.J. Simpson, though?
He does. Yes, he does. Nothing against white people. I love my white people, okay? But let me explain something to y'all. White people only been here 6,000 years, okay? Yaqub took albinos. It started changing the genes and started mating and changing, then the white man came.
And the KKK, you guys think it was just white people behind it? Brothers and sisters. You see this? It came from indigenous people. This, it was influenced by indigenous people. This was influenced by indigenous people. This was influenced by indigenous people. You get the pattern? They told you the 13 families, the Rothschild and all those people, they're in power. Just do your research and you'll see who's really in power. You'll see what's really happening. It's not about race. It's Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. The flesh isn't you, brothers and sisters, your spirits. But you're so focused on racism, you're so focused on reparation, you're so focused on the white person did this, the white person did this. Yes, racism exists. Yes, discrimination exists. Yes, police discrimination exists. Yes. How long are we going to keep playing this white and black card? You were all once indigenous people, powerful people with kingdoms. You guys think it's the white people who caused all this. No, you caused it upon yourselves. Your own people betrayed each other. That's why you guys are going through what you guys are going through right now. Look in the hoods. It's the same thing. It's just a different timeline, but it's the same thing. Karma is real. Everything has consequences.
Do you remember this rabbi Yi had to beg forgiveness from so he could perform again? Here he is again with Young Thug during his RICO trial where he was asking for spiritual guidance. It looks like they even got Clav at this rabbi's mercy. You gotta watch this whole video, but before you do, drop a follow for more content like this.
Hi. How are you? Shalom. How are you?
Peace. What's your name?
Clav.
כבוד הרב, מה נשמע? מה שלומכם?
ברוך השם צדיקים, ברוך השם, ברוך השם, השם ישמור אתכם צדיקים, אוהבים אתכם.
היינו כבר הרבה כבוד הרב.
הצלחה גדולה, הצלחה גדולה צדיקים.
This is Corino Cloud. Your full Brandon Corino, your full real name.
Braden. Say like.
This is the exact moment he realized Peter Thiel was going to bend his ass over tonight. In actuality, he's one of the top 10 richest rabbis in Israel and the president of the Rabbinical Court of Morocco. Whatever the fuck that means. Let me know what you guys think down below. What's he doing with all these celebrities and influencers, and why do they have to go meet him?
First public unveiling in a public presentation of Project Looking Glass. A human being is about this tall. This is built in underground bases. It is colossal in size. And what happens is when you fire this thing up, these rings start going in all different directions. It shields off the barrel of water inside, which is just like your pineal gland. The water inside flips over into time-space, which then captures argon gas, captures visual images, and this is what it looks like. It becomes huge, glowing, all the way out to these posts, which are used as stabilizers for the energy.
Stop lying. Stop acting. You all never went to space. Follow Jesus. God's watching you all. Stop lying to the public. Your PSYOP isn't working on millions of us. NASA's a joke. Repent before God, y'all. I see through your lies. I know you never went to space.
Thank you, sir.
God's watching you all.
This is the popular ones that be showing them how black they are. Look at that, folks. All black folks.
And the only reason we gonna still have the internet while a lot of this shit going on, like literally, so much shit is finna crash down, and we gonna still have the internet. That serves two purposes. The oppressors want you to want to fool you into thinking that things ain't bad as they are. And then remember, the internet was created off our intergalactic highways that we naturally have communicating with each other. So this is why I told you, you got a lot of cosmic forces that work through this internet. The internet is a multiverse thing. Because what they using, the type of chip that they chose to use to create the internet, and we know who created the internet, a God did that. Okay? They'll tell you that much. Go research it. I'll save that for you to look up. But because of the chip that's being used, it's just like the movie Home. Remember his ass hit that button and he sent out a signal to air the whole universe? In the movie Home, if you ain't seen Home, go watch it. It's a kid's movie, but it's good as fuck. It's deep. It really got super downloads in it, but it's disguised as a kid movie. It's Home, right, babe? Yes. It's called Home. Alright? He hit the little button. Cheek. Sent out the signal. He invited the whole universe to the party, right? Okay. That's what they did when they created the internet.
They taught us about every march, every protest, every time we were on our knees. But they never taught us about the black man who walked into Harvard and then walked onto Wall Street and bought $1 billion company with borrowed money. Why? Why do we know about Rosa Parks, but we don't know about Reginald Lewis? Why do we know about the marches, but we don't know about the man who in 1987 did the largest offshore leverage buyout in American history? This man took $1 million, and turned it into $50 million in just 4 years. Not by protesting, not by marching, but learning and studying how money moves. And then moving it better than anybody else in the room. Okay? Clock that T. So I am reading this book. So let me tell you how he did it. So there was a government program, the MESBIC, okay? And basically the government would lend private investment funds cheap money so they could turn around and lend it to minority businesses at a higher rate and keep the difference, okay? And Reginald Lewis became the lawyer for these type of deals. And while everybody else was seeing, ooh, this is a lot of paperwork, he saw a blueprint. He watched how people borrowed money at 4%, lent at 12%, and pocketed the spread. He said, I must be in the wrong business. I don't want to be a lawyer no more. I want to be the one making the deals. So in 1983, he found a 113-year-old struggling company called McCall Pattern. Now, he put in $1 million of his own money and borrowed the rest and bought the whole thing, cleaned it up, made it profitable, and sold it 4 years later for $90 million. So he turned $1 million into $50 million by using the company's own income to pay back what he had borrowed. And that's called a leverage buyout. And that's a word black people was never supposed to know. But he wasn't done, because in 1987, he did it again. Except this time it was nearly $1 billion deal. Beatrice International Foods. 64 companies in 31 countries. And when it was over, Beatrice became the first black-owned company in American history to cross $1 billion in revenue. I have never heard of this man's name one time in my entire life. Now, I am only 33 years old, but I didn't hear this in school. I didn't hear this on Black History Month. And I'm starting to think that it wasn't by accident, because they give us a version of Black history that taught us how to survive oppression, but they never give us the history that teaches us how to build power. Now, this book is called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?
James Goldstein. Who he is to the NBA is who Michelle Lemmy is to the hip-hop industry. Because one thing you got to understand about our world is basically ran by corporations. And every organization, whether if it's corporate, political, or cultural, is being ran by a hidden force. Because they're going to show you the owners and the CEOs, but the hidden force is the unseen hand. The unseen hand is the covenant, the contract that they made with dark covenants when you're talking about draconian magic. So the inception of James Goldstein bloodline comes from the Canaanite bloodline. So that means that he's a hybrid Albion Ashkenazi Jew. And that bloodline in itself is interconnected to Vladimir the Impaler, who is the real Count Dracula. So when you get to the inception of the Goldstein, when you look at the etymological roots, it comes from the Yiddish language. And Yiddish culture comes from Zionist culture. So that's how you know that they're basically the epitome of the synagogues of Satan. So that means that you got dark forces, hidden hands that runs the great majority of these corporations and these organizations. What people got to understand is that every industry is ran by witches and warlocks. I'm going to say it again. Every industry is ran by witches and warlocks. Because when you understand the occult, when you understand etymology and bloodline, you will understand the inception of these dark forces. Right? Because when you understand names like Silverstein, Goldstein, and Bergstein, those are all Yiddish language. And that Yiddish language is interconnected to the Order of the Dragon, which is a secret society. The Order of the Dragon is a secret society that practices draconian magic, that basically interfaces with corporations, that is controlled by dark forces. Now, one thing that I found interesting about James Goldstein is that he has a club called Sky Space. It's a subterranean club in the caverns of LA. Now, when you go to the 1930s, it speaks of a newspaper talking about how there's a subterranean kingdom that is ran by lizard people, right? So there's a correlation to that. Now, this is also in alignment with the jinn when you're talking about the Holy Quran, because in the Holy Quran, it speaks of jinn being lizard people. So there is a dark force, or, draconian entities on the planet that control the great majority of these corporations. I'm going to show you this video that basically extrapolates that knowledge.
Jinn races, many of them look like lizards, literally. And as a result, if their frequency enters into people and occupies that person, they create that barrier.
This story is the lead up to Christopher Columbus and the Black Conquistadors. The Moors have just fallen and the Renaissance is now here. This is my first source, the image of the black in the Western art. Look at this painting. This is a Renaissance painting. If you look very closely, there's a statue. This is an actual statue. This statue depicts 4 more kings who were beheaded. This statue also is symbolic for the Moors going into slavery. Look at the chains on their wrist. In Italy, the Black Moorish kings were conquered, and they faced the same fate as the Moors in Spain and Portugal. They were replaced and erased. Enter Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, who were Hispano-Romans. They were Romans in Spain, and they spearheaded the Inquisition. The Inquisitors, or the Nazarenos, were the capirote, and they used to terrorize the Moors. This tradition was brought to the Americas, and they were called the Ku Klux Klan. Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand was given the title Catholic monarchs by Pope Alexander VI of Rome, the same pope that issued the Papal Bull Intercitura. This gave Spain the green light to go into the Americas and spread Catholicism to all the indigenous population. The reason why this is so important is because the Pope Alexander VI of Rome, his name was Rodrigo Borgia, and he had a son, Cesare Borgia. This is my next source, in the pillory. Look at this image. This image is Cesare Borgia with the thorn crown on his head. His father commissioned all of these to be made, even the paintings by Leonardo da Vinci. And when they came to the Americas, they brought these images. And no, this was not Jesus. This is Cesare Borgia, the Pope's son.
Freemasonry isn't the origin of secret wisdom, it's the remix. They didn't invert magic, they took it from Kemet, Voodoo, Yoruba, then flipped it, hid it, and called it light. The 33rd degree, that's not just a rank, it's the spinal code, the Christ age, the sacred fire they stole. But ask yourself, why did they create hierarchies out of divine systems? Because they feared the power of people who didn't need a lodge, who had drums, dirt, and dreams. So they built temples with secrets. But we were the temple all along. Freemasonry is not the origin, it is the inversion. And now the blueprint is being returned to the rightful architects. You're not joining their system, you're remembering the one they buried.
Mr. Rothschild, how you doing, sir? Can you tell us what went on at the Bilderberg meeting this year?
Sorry?
Could you tell us what went on at the Bilderberg meeting this year?
I didn't get that, actually, no.
The Bilderberg? You weren't there?
No.
What went on last year?
No, I wasn't there last year. I think that was my cousin.
Your cousin was there?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Do you have a couple minutes for us? I was asking a question on Friday when I was saying that the Federal Reserve is one of these organizations. It's one of these organizations that a lot of people say is the source of engineering products all across the world because it's a private bank that was started by a family.
No, it's completely untrue. I was asked that earlier. It really isn't true. No.
So, David, you could go about how, your family committed all these acts against society, but we just want to let you know the New World Order has no legitimacy, and that we as the people are not afraid, and we are waking up to the robber barons and the big banks who are looting the economy with the Federal Reserve.
Well,
everything is staged. Look at the Iranian parliament and compare it to the 2025 Oscars stage. We see the same Masonic symbolism. Movies are scripted, but so is politics. You see actors on stage, but who's writing the script?
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who claims
about the country.
Albert Pike, a 33rd degree Freemason, predicted it back in 1871. The Third World War will be triggered so that Islam and Israel destroy each other. A planned war designed to exhaust nations and impose a global Luciferian religion. This chaos was encoded long ago. The number 33 and the pyramid are the signatures of Freemasonry. Even George Washington was a member, but at the top, it's not God you find, it's Baphomet. The House of the Temple in Washington has 33 columns, each 33 feet tall, with a pyramid and a double-headed eagle, the same eagle used by the Russian Empire, yet they make you believe they're on opposing sides. The Israeli Supreme Court, again, a pyramid donated by the Rothschilds, and once more, the Iranian Parliament, a pyramid with 33 windows. Coincidence? I don't think so. After all, who owns the world? BlackRock, the Black Cube, just like the Islamic Kaaba, Jewish Kabbalah, or Trump Tower. All aligned around the same symbol. And what do you find at the center of a Masonic lodge? A black cube, the cube of Saturn. A master mason knows the script, the others just follow it, and as long as you pick a side, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. You become a willing extra in their movie.
The 13 bloodlines that run the world.
look up. This is not even no theory, y'all. You can look up the 25 banks that own everything. Nigga, everything? Nigga, everything. And, you know, we feel like we're doing something because, you know, we find out, you know, who Rockefeller is and, you know, we find out who the Rothschilds are. And we like, man, figured it out. No. All them are just puppets. You think the government and the politicians are puppets? Or even the Illuminati's puppets? It's something much darker behind all of that shit. It doesn't matter if somebody calls you crazy. It really doesn't. At this point, the shit that's finna happen, the shit that they finna do, you think people calling you crazy is the worst that could happen? You got two different types of people. You know, you got the people that are like, you know, that doesn't make sense. Like, explain that to me. You got people like that. Don't turn those people away. And then you got some people that are just like, this is stupid, you fucking idiot, this is dumb. Like, don't even smack them people. Like, it's a waste of time. They're angry because they can't even express themselves. They don't have the vocabulary or the knowledge to express themselves. If you let yourself become entangled with those people, then you're just letting the same negative parasitic entity feed off of your energy and siphon off your energy that's using them. With trolls, like, fuck the trolls.
Freemasonry is Jewish mysticism in disguise. Find a Freemasonic tracing board and place the Kabbalistic tree on top. You'll see. The craziest part, you can do this with even Christian paintings. Traces of Kabbalah can be found in every single religion in the world. You're probably wondering, what is this tree? The Kabbalah has 4 separate worlds. The first world is called emanation, the highest point of consciousness before any thought exists in your mind. The second world is called creation, where thoughts now appear out of the emanating source. The third world is formation, where the thoughts in the creative world turn into formative imaginations in our mind. The last world is kingdom, the physical reality. It's a blueprint of our psyche or soul or mind. Kabbalah is said to be the root of every single religion because it's basically a blueprint of human consciousness. It's not inherently Jewish, it's human consciousness. However, they're just labels placed onto all of these teachings.
And you wonder why you never hear talk of the Moors. You never hear them say in history when you're going to high school in the American educational system, they don't teach you that black people ruled the world for 800 years as Moors in Asia, Spain, Portugal, North, South America. I mean, the entire globe. They advanced the cultural civilization of humanity. This is never taught to so-called black people in America, only that they were slaves. Everything they are taught is to denigrate the imagery and the cultural moral fiber of the people. But black people ruled the world under the title as Moors for 800 years and 2,000 years before that. And they are also the educators and the founding fathers of all advanced cultural technology and understanding. And they are actually responsible for educating the so-called Europeans we see in modern times, the white man. And this is the history that's been left out and that has been kept from the so-called black man and woman in America. And that is done under the pretense and under the guise that they must never know the truth or imagine themselves being anything other than what they've already been told they are, which is slaves who descended from Africa, who have no indigenous roots and no claims to anything in this world because that was erased and it can never be found. And they are nothing more than descendants of slaves, which is all lies, in order to psychologically enslave the so-called black man and woman in modern day times.
Dumbass black people who still going by his fucking history books that you keep saying a lie, but you still keep living by this shit. In 928 of the last millennium, stupid black people, they added 1,000 years to your history book. They rewrote whitewashed history. Wasn't no white people in mass till about the late 700s. All them black people from Britain, Spain, England, Rome, France, and all that shit, them was niggas. Greeks, Persians, Egypt.
Dr. T, now you seeing it? Are you seeing it? They took over because they recruited all these people as children. They recruited them as children, they brainwashed them, they raped them, they gave them positions, education, personalities, futures, and then put them in positions. And this is what these people have been doing. This is why they perfected MK Ultra. It is insane to overlook and jump over the fact that Barack Obama, Epstein, Bill Barr, Jim Jordan, Podesta, as children were in the same camp together, and now they're in the positions that they're in, and there's no connection. Are you crazy? They recruited these people. They recruited them because they follow bloodlines. They recruited them, they brainwashed them, they raped them. That's why Obama's into perversion. That's why all of these people, even Jim Jordan, when he worked for Ohio State, he knew about pedophilia that was going on and didn't do shit because these people are programmed. They don't even know who they are. Mondani is the same thing. He was on Epstein Island getting raped, brainwashed, programmed, and then put as the mayor of New York. And this is what these people have been doing. They raped them, they brainwashed them. They program them, and then they put them into positions. Look, it's plain as the noise on your face. To deny this shit is deny reality. This is what these people have been doing, and this is how they've taken over. And I dare say that they've about 99% taken over. Tavistock said that they're about 99% taken over, and this is how they did it. They have that camp interlocking where they put all these kids in the same camp together. John Podesta, Bill Barr, for God's sakes, the Attorney General, was in the same child's camp as Epstein. Need I say more? And Bill Barr has been in the CIA forever. He's been a tool of the CIA forever. You know, that man, you'll never get justice out of any of these people because they're all Luciferians. They're all tools. They all been brainwashed. They all been raped. Pam Bondi the same way. They will never listen to me. I guarantee you this. If Dr. T is wrong, you wait to see if any of these people are prosecuted. I guarantee you, none of these people are going to jail. None of these people are. It is a theater. That's all it is. Raise your hopes. Oh God, justice is coming. And then nothing. And that's all you're ever going to get out of these Luciferians. Dr. T.
Masons are like homosexuals. They can't reproduce themselves naturally. They can only, amen, they can only recruit. You know, think of that. That's the way with every cult. If you know someone who's a Mason, or if you yourself are a Mason, realize that when you kneel at the altar of Masonry as an entered apprentice, and you take that oath, you are adopted into the family of Lucifer at that moment. Now, you don't probably know that. I did. But most people don't even know that. And as a result, if you're a Christian, and mind you, there are pastors that are doing this. There are deacons that are doing this. There are countless Christian lay people that are doing this. You cannot serve two masters. And if you understood the profound relationship between witchcraft and Freemasonry, you would know what that cord, that cable tow meant, because they've got a rope around their neck. And what that means in witchcraft and the occult is that is a symbol of the umbilical cord of the mother goddess, the Queen of Heaven, linking her to her hidden child. So this guy has just been born again by the Queen of Hell, the consort of Lucifer. Every Mason has this happen to them. And they don't understand the dynamics, probably 99 out of 100, but they still go through it.
They used the Moors, who they had already put under a spell, because the Moors are the ones that gave them the access codes to the ancient technology we had called Macurbas that they used to push our sun away, to blow up our crystal towers, to cut down our trees. All right, they used our own technology against us to do that. All right, the Moors didn't try to do that, but the Moors were put under a spell. That's why the Moors were the ones that helped them build up Europe, because after the Great Invasion, they started to build up their own version of what they wanted on this planet, and it started with Europe, and they were using our very own to do that. The Moors are the ones that wrote the Declaration of Independence. The Moors are the ones that wrote the Constitution for them. The Moors are the ones that built all the cathedrals in Europe for them. All this took place while they were put heavily under a spell. They broke that spell, though. And after they broke that spell, then that's when Europe went to war with the Moors. Look it up. Look it up. You think I'm lying? Look it up. If you think I'm lying, look it up for yourself. At least on the part about the Moors, about Europe going to look up the war with Europe had with the Moors. I'm just telling you how I got to that point. Because that's when the Moors broke out of the spell, nigga. They had them under the spell the whole time. Once they snapped out of the spell, they went right to war with them, but it was too late by then. They done already helped them conquer the whole fucking planet. We began to become more and more confused as we continued to fall in frequency. And the confusion led to us starting tribes. So you got to understand how we became even tribal because of all the confusion. You know, all the confusion that was being conjured up because we lost our vibration. You know, when they moved our second sun out of our galaxy, when they pushed it back, and when they blew up the towers, really, when they blew up these ancient towers that was made of these different crystal structures, and you can still find bits and pieces of these crystals today scattered in the ground. That's where they all come from. You know, they come from the explosions that was taking place upon them. You know, then you got some individuals that'll find them explosions and they'll take them in, and you know they'll mold them and shape them the stuff like this. But if not, they'll be in that raw form like that big one I got over there. You know, they'll be in that raw form like that, and you'll find them all over the ground because we really had these structures, right? So it's like an artifact they can't hide. It's just like rocks, right? Like a lot of people don't know that the rocks used to be mushrooms. All the rocks used to be giant mushrooms or crystals. Like some of the rocks completely were crystals that became fossilized from all the oxygen that's all the air or fake air, which would be synthetic air, which would be oxygen, right? Because we got natural air and then you have oxygen, right?
The race is elite. The draconian reptilians who run everything. Don't know why people run shit. Alright? Only people running shit down here is these draconian reptilians, nigga. Now, do you think these draconian reptilians fear you when you got money? No. Because they created the money system. They control it. It's one of the only things that they do control on the planet is money. They don't control shit else.
Okay. We never spoke using words. Words, the alpha beta system, is a formatic system that was created by us, the Anunnaki gods, passed down to the human beings to help them communicate with each other. You wouldn't have never learned words if we didn't lose the war to the Pleiadians, the draconian reptilians, all right, and these human beings who were, you know, tricked into turning against us, just like the Moors were tricked into turning against us. See, a lot of you, especially white people that's middle class or poor, you don't know that you were tricked into not liking black people. You were tricked into believing that Jesus, like they told y'all Jesus was real too, but you were tricked into like this white superiority complex because it was all part of the race war, black versus white.
The elite families, the insane Khazarian and Venetian black nobility families, just like the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, the Windsor family, false name. These are the black nobility families. A lot of people, when they see this pyramid of control, and they put the Queen on the top, and the Zionists and the Freemasons, don't understand that the Vatican and the Jesuits and the Superior General of the Jesuits actually sit on top, behind the scenes, but they work together. Then they have, that's the crown and the elite, insane families of the world who think they have better blood than the rest. And they have their think tanks. Then they have their financial control system, world resource control, world population control, and there's a little sheep down the bottom called debt slaves. We're all debtors. And we all bleed financially because they're taxing your wage. You go to work and you get taxed. Half of it goes to the government.
The medical profession in the United States, and that is Satanism and occult practices. Now, what does pharmakia mean? You know, the pharmaceutical industry takes their name from that. Pharmakia means, in ancient Greek, means sorcery or witchcraft. And so this is the basis of the pharmaceutical industry in the United States. This is why they use chemicals and drugs to induce unnatural results in the human system. Aias and his father, Apollo, the sun god, each of them appeared on Earth as a serpent. So, what do we have as the emblem of the medical profession? You have the twined serpents, the caduceus, which is Aias and Apollo, that is, at the occult. And the drug trust itself came about as a natural result of the Federal Reserve secret meeting at Jekyll Island in 1910. And the result of that meeting on Jekyll Island is you have a $4 trillion national debt created out of nothing. Only through satanic means can you create something out of nothing, through the use of the occult. So that's what we have, an occult temple, and they have a temple, a marble temple, right there on Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. That is the headquarters of the Federal Reserve System.
150 years since the first transatlantic cable began ushering in global communications. And now tech giants are taking that undersea revolution a big step further. Here's Mark Albert.
When you pick up the phone to reach out and touch someone across the oceans, it's only possible because of ships like the Global Sentinel.
This is cable tank number 1.
And what am I standing on right now?
You're standing on fiber optic cable that's going to be laid from here towards Brazil.
This is how worldwide communication begins. Jeff Sanders is a captain at TE Connectivity Subcom, which calls itself the world's largest provider of under-ocean fiber optic cable.
They're coiling it the same way they did in the 1800s.
He gave us a rare view of more than 900 miles of cables spooled tightly by hand in one of 3 side-by-side tanks aboard the ship anchored in the port of Newington in New Hampshire. So the cable we're walking on right now will be under the ocean carrying my phone call?
Yes, it will. It's a good chance any call you make to South America in the future could be on this exact cable for the next 20-25 years. Cable comes right off into the ocean from here.
Robots take over from there, diving to a depth too deep for humans. The machines use water jets to create a trench, allowing the cable to sink into the seabed and become buried.
95% of all telephone and data is transferred over submarine cables.
Not satellite.
Not satellite.
It's what allows us to rely on instant everything. Phone calls, banking, web surfing, email, streaming video, and other communication.
Heavy case?
And it all began 150 years ago.
We have here samples of the early cables from the 1850s.
This is what the first permanent cable looked like under the Atlantic.
Absolutely.
Barney Finn at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History helped string together an exhibit commemorating the 150th anniversary of the first permanent transatlantic cable, and the man who assembled the financial, political, and technical prowess to make it happen, entrepreneur Cyrus Field. Some of the items have not been on display in more than a century.
And this indeed is the cable going across the Atlantic.
Laid in rough seas, the first few copper cables broke or burnt out. When it finally worked after a decade of failure, Field wrote to his wife on July 27, 1866, "All well, thank God." Great Britain's Queen Victoria congratulated U.S. President Andrew Johnson in this message.
If I was living in 1866 and I wanted to send a message to a relative in Ireland or in England, it would take 10 days by ship to get there, however long to write the message, and 10 days to get back. With this cable now, it was what, minutes?
Yeah, that's right.
It sounds like this was the original information age.
That's right.
For the next 90 years, the cable handled messages by Morse code before telephone cables arrived. Today, a maze of fiber optic cables crisscross the oceans and the U.S.
What is the main challenge in moving vast amounts of data?
Capacity.
Mike Murphy co-founded the Boston-based telecom consultancy NEF. He says the explosion of data use around the world is leading to innovative partnerships like Facebook and Microsoft, which have teamed up to build a blazing fast 160 terabyte per second cable from Virginia to Spain.
What does this mean for the family sitting at home logging onto the internet?
Better, faster service. So today we live in a world of instant gratification. So if you're standing in the grocery store and you want to see what's in your refrigerator to finish your shopping, you can actually access a camera inside your refrigerator. Think about driverless cars. And think about the amount of data that's required.
It sounds like what you're saying is these companies building these new transatlantic cables, they're not going on offense, they're on defense, trying to keep up with all the growing traffic.
For sure.
We can transmit the entire contents of the Library of Congress across the Atlantic Ocean in 2 seconds.
At the TE Subcom plant in New Hampshire, the company uses colored glass strands of fiber to create the cables for those over-the-top providers, like Google, Facebook, and Microsoft, explains Vice President John Dufour.
Look at how thin these fibers are. This is like a hair.
These are the size of a strand of human hair, but about 1,000 times stronger.
And demand is just as strong. The cable highway runs to the Global Sentinel ship 24 hours a day until fully loaded. Once installed in the dark depths of the ocean, it'll be a highway of fiber optic light.
It's connecting the world and connecting families, and it's a mission that we enjoy doing.
For CBS This Morning Saturday, Mark Albert, Newington, New Hampshire.
It's amazing. And Mark sent us these thin little threads.
Yeah, it's housed in this.
Information.
They put it under, it's housed in a thicker thing, but the actual cable itself, I mean, you can barely see it. And this is what the Library of Congress is traveling in 2 seconds.
That's astounding.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. Wow.
Okay. You're saying they're brainwashing. Okay, you're saying these people that are experts in brainwashing is using the Department of Education to brainwash our children.
Yes.
What are they after? Why are they doing it?
Well, if you want to move a country from a free individualistic economy,
which we have.
Yes, or had.
Or had, okay.
To a planned economy, you have to do it through the schools. You have to dumb down and brainwash, change the attitudes and values. You have to completely, social engineering has to go on constantly. And many teachers know what I'm talking about. And people are going to say, well, when did this start? And who on earth ever did this? Why would a plan like that be allowed to be carried out?
That's right.
Well, then you have to go back to 1934, which I will do, and we have to go to the three-pronged fork, okay? So I do think that the watershed year, although you can go back to the early part of the century when the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Corporation were deeply involved in education, and that it was decided then that Carnegie would deal with the international part and Rockefeller domestic. So they commissioned the American Historical Association to put together a study of the social studies, and they came up with lots of volumes, but I have one little volume, Conclusions and Recommendations for the Social Studies. And basically that little one is an original book. I wish I'd brought it with me. Too bad. But I don't even dare let it out of the house. It's so important. It called for changing the United States through the schools from a free individualistic economy to a socialist, collectivized, planned economy in the New World Order.
It says that in the book?
Yes.
And that book was written when?
In 1934.
By who?
It was the Carnegie Corporation paid for it. The American Historical Association put it together. And
can people get that book in the library?
No.
No.
No, they can't. They were very instrumental in getting the Elementary and Secondary Education Act passed, which, as I said before, changed education from knowledge, content-based, academic, to performance-based behavior. And from that time on, because that was necessary for what we're looking at now with school to work agenda is the planned economy is performance-based.
So they're training workers.
They're training
not thinkers, not leaders.
Exactly. At that time, you had a general, Buck Chisholm, a Canadian general psychiatrist, who was a very close friend of Alger Hiss's. And he gave a speech in 1945 to the World Health Organization, which basically recommended getting rid of the conscience.
Wow.
Yes. And he said we would do it through the schools. We would retrain the teachers to be little psychiatrists. He said it is an international system they're looking at. They're going to change the behavior of the children. They're going to change the teachers' training. They're going to do everything. He told them everything.
And they didn't believe him?
No, they just, well, you know what goes on.
Absolutely. In fact, a good portion of it is all human meat. All human. It's all human. The amount of people killed, sacrificed, ground up, and fed back to you is more than the cattle that's on the earth. Let's put it that way. Okay? We would steer clear of any type of ground meat unless you literally are getting it from a farm where they process their food right there and then. In which case, you know, really it's usually a farm. They've got a little store there. They've got, you know, their own package system, their own meat system. Short of that, we wouldn't recommend any type of ground meat to be consumed if you're concerned with whether you're participating in cannibalism or not. And the biggest issue, besides the obvious, for most people, moral issue of eating another human being, is the energy behind it. And also, your bodies are not designed to consume each other, so they cause all kinds of, it causes health problems as well, and things of that nature. And we know that you all have participated in it so far in your lives. Everybody's been eating this stuff. Everybody's been eating the fast food hamburgers. Everybody's been eating the ground up stuff and things like that. But we're just telling you that it's mostly human meat. It's mostly human meat. And a lot of it is other animals as well that you don't realize that they get rid of when they euthanize animals. And that's the hard truth. Most of the celebrities, the high-ranking celebrities, politicians, and things of that nature, they're on a purely cannibalistic diet. All of the meat that they eat are humans. And so they've got human meat processing plants. And they're not very hidden. They're pretty much, you know, broadcast and out in the open. It's just that nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that while they're lined up in the line to get their fast food burgers through the drive-thru. Okay? But that is a truth, and you all get to make a decision. You all are always able to make decisions as to what changes are you going to make. What changes are you going to make? Because on the moral aspect, okay, but there's the energy aspect. If we are all one, and we are, you're literally eating yourselves, okay? On the energy aspect, there is no humane way to kill someone or something. There's no such thing. That's the stupidest thing anybody's ever exclaimed, ever, okay? Ever, okay? And so all of the fear and the stress that shoots through a body while it's being killed, because most of it isn't even painless in any way, shape, or form. There's trauma, massive trauma involved in it, that gets physically embodied, actualized and embodied, and then you're eating that fear. It's an extremely low conscious aspect, and that gets fully integrated into your body on a visceral level and your brain. And it literally prevents brain activity, and it instills Alzheimer's and dementia.